Welcome back to Prophecy Views. I wanted to tell you some exciting news. We set our studio back up. We've got it up and running. We're still getting a little bit of the kinks worked out of everything, the bugs worked out. But while we're here, I wanted to go over a news article because, as you know, there's two things that we're following very closely. One of which is sort of this Revelation 12:14, where the eagle is shown protecting Israel from the face of the serpent for that 3.5 year period that we talk about, that 42 months. So we're keeping an eye on waiting. So this administration that we have right now, the Biden administration, is not the type of administration that's shown in Revelation 12:14. So we're keeping an eye on this transition where the United States will make this pivot. Now, of course, if you followed this channel for a long time, you know that we were all set and watching for Donald Trump to be the one to just go ahead and lead us into that final 7 years. Of course, the picture painted in Revelation 12:14 is the last half of that final 7 year period that will lead up to the Battle of Armageddon. But we're in this 4 year stage of waiting to see what happens, and now we're sitting upon the election. And we're waiting for this transition. Is the United States going to make that pivot and become the nation that's emphasized in Revelation 12:14? The other thing that we're continually keeping our eye on, because it's the next trumpet to happen. The fifth trumpet, if you'll recall, was the war with Saddam Hussein the first time around, where they lit 700 of the world's richest oil wells on fire in Kuwait. And the sun was darkened at noontime. It looked like nighttime. And that was prophesied in the fifth trumpet in Revelation. So now we're on the sixth trumpet. And we've been waiting for that sixth trumpet. And we don't know which one's going to be first. Is it going to be the Sixth Trumpet War that kills 1/3 of the human race? And we're going to go over that in just a minute. Or is it going to be the peace agreement that is brought up in Daniel 9:27, where the person that's going to eventually become the Antichrist will be among those many people that says, and he will sign that peace agreement with many for a 7 year period, the confirmation of the covenant, and he will confirm the covenant for a 7 year period, and it's talking of the Antichrist there. So we're watching. We don't know which one's next because they're in two different parts of the Bible. But the thing I wanted to bring your attention to right now is what could potentially be the spark of that sixth trumpet war that is described. Now, I want to bring your attention real quick. Let's just take a look at that Revelation 9:23, if we can scroll over to that. And so let's take a look at it, and let's take a look at the parameters. So listen to the wording of this very carefully. And the sixth angel sounded. So we're in Revelation 9:13 through 20, and we're probably just going to stick with the first few verses. So read along with me. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So this tells us that the initial incident will start at the Euphrates River. And if you've watched us in these past episodes, we know that the nations that house the Euphrates River is Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and it empties out into the Gulf at the Iranian and Iraqi border. So Iran, Iraq, Syria, Turkey. So now we're in that region. So the spark will be there, but it won't be contained there because you can't kill 1/3 of the human race that we're going to get to. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, a day, a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And this is something that I've been awful focused on the past several months. And one of the supporters of our ministry and we talk from time to time. And her and I go back and forth, and I'm like, I'm hung up on this an hour, a day, a month, and a year. And I've got some suspicions on what that could be, but nothing solid and nothing that I am ready to come to camera on, although I have some wonderings about it. So 1/3 of the human race. And the number of the army, this is important, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. Now this, I believe, is what is referring to China. So at some point in time, China will get involved in it and will back up whatever nation or nations are involved in this spark of the war along the Euphrates River. So they'll back up one of the nations along the Euphrates River that this war starts at. Russia and China have become awful chummish lately and buddy-buddy. So right now I'm focusing on what is Iran's reaction to Iran in this article that we're going to see. And so I'm going to leave it right there on this scripture right now. There is additional information in that scripture because it goes down to at least 20. But let's go to this article with Israel Hayam right now. And this is talking about Iran airspace restrictions reported. Now this is going on currently as we speak. Iran is restricting some airspace. It may be in preparation for an attack on the nation of Israel because Israel just killed a couple of generals of Hamas, one of which was in Iran, and they sent I believe it was a drone over and killed that general in Iran. Another one was killed in Beirut. So Iran is hot, and they have sworn because of the attack on Iranian soil that they are going to retaliate and retaliate hard. So this is simply telling us that as of right now, going on currently, Iran airspace has some restrictions reported as U.S. warns of imminent strike on Israel. So I wanted to take a little different look at this and a little different angle. And let's take a look at it from an Iranian news standpoint because this is coming from the Israel Hayam, from the Israeli standpoint. So let's take a look at an article from the Iranian standpoint. And this is President Putin of Russia is talking to Iran and asking for them to just be cautious about what they do and having restraint in any attack that they have on the nation of Israel. But the one thing that caught my attention is that despite the Kremlin's cautious approach, Tehran has not shied away from pressing its demands, including the acquisition of Russian-made Su-35 fighter jets. The two Iranian sources who were privy to the discussion disclosed to Reuters that this request was reiterated during the visit, reflecting Iran's strategic ambitions amidst escalating tensions. Russia itself has lost hundreds of warplanes in its war on Ukraine and would be hard-pressed to satisfy Iran's request. So that's kind of where that stands. And if we scroll down just a little bit and we see that this part of the article starts off with international concerns and political conflict, but the potential fallout from Iran's retaliation, and this is what I want you to get. The potential fallout from Iran's retaliation has alarmed international observers. An unnamed Biden administration official speaking to Reuters emphasized the risk of a significant regional conflict, stating the scale of Iran's and Hezbollah's response will be a key factor in determining the extent of a potential conflict. So we're keeping an eye on this. It just seems to be a hotbed right now. Just a lot of stuff going on in this. Israel, ever since that attack on Israel on October 7th from Hamas, and all of the powers around Israel, the nations that surround the tiny nation of Israel, some have waned support, and some have gotten stronger and waned, and it's been just a bit of a thing to watch. But we're keeping an eye on this situation. But right now it's escalated back up, and so Iran would be one of the nations that would house the Euphrates River. So we're watching for that Sixth Trumpet War. Again, welcome to the new set. Please continue to follow us as we have more content coming up, and we will keep an eye on not only the Sixth Trumpet War, but we're also going to keep an eye on the peace agreement. And there are things happening with Saudi Arabia and Israel. They're friendlying up to each other. And the Abraham Accord that Trump started back a few years ago continues to move continually. And we all know scripturally where that's going to end up if you keep an eye on Daniel 9:27 and read that and what it's everything that it's pointing to. So we're watching all of these events. We'll bring those to you and how they tie into Bible prophecy, because that's what Prophecy Views does. We take today's current events and we show you how they tie into Bible prophecy. Welcome to the new set. We'll see you soon. God bless.